When you see the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds perform, what you see is just perfection. The speed, the sound, that synchronization, it's hard not to be in awe.
It really is. They're the pinnacle of precision flying.
But there's something else there too. Underneath all that spectacle is this intense, chilling risk. That's just part of the job.
It is.
And that's what we're doing today. We're going behind the smoke trails for a deep dive into the source material you provided on the history of accidents and crashes involving the Thunderbirds.
Exactly. Our mission here is to look past the public image and get to the operational reality. We've gone through the reports, the historical accounts, and what's immediately clear is that these aren't just, random one-off accidents.
Okay.
We're looking at a historical pattern. A pattern where you have the best pilots in the world in these incredible aircraft, and yet you still see catastrophic failures. So we want to pull out the key facts and the causes.
A historical pattern of failure. I mean, that completely changes how you look at it. So I guess the big question for this deep dive is, why? How do the best of the best crash?
Well, the sources give us a really clear framework for that. They point to really three major interconnected reasons for almost every crash they've had. It's like a risk triangle.
A risk triangle. Okay, let's build that out. What's the first point of the triangle?
The first one is the most obvious. It's the sheer complexity of maneuvers.
Okay.
I mean, think about what they're actually doing up there. They're flying in that classic diamond formation, right?
Right, the super tight one.
So tight that the sources say there's sometimes as little as 18 inches between a wingtip and the next jet's canopy.
Wow, 18 inches at hundreds of miles an hour.
At well over 400 knots. And they're doing inverted passes, low-altitude loops, high G turns. Any tiny little deviation, a twitch on the stick, a gust of wind, it's not a minor thing. It's instantly catastrophic.
So what would be a non-issue in normal flight becomes a life-or-death moment in a split second.
Precisely. Which leads directly to the second part of the triangle, human error.
Even with these elite pilots.
Especially with them. They're still human, operating under this immense pressure and cognitive load. The sources point to specific things, like misjudging altitude coming out of a vertical loop, or starting a maneuver like a split S, just a little too low.
And there's no room to recover from that.
None. And it's not really about a lack of skill. It's about human physiology. It's about making a split-second decision when you're pulling heavy Gs and trying to manage this complex machine right next to three others.
That's a really important point. It's not the jet's limits, it's the human mind's limits. You can be perfect 999 times.
But that one time is all it takes. And that brings up the third factor, which is mechanical or system failure.
Right, because the planes themselves can fail.
Absolutely. We focus on the pilots, but the data is clear. Sometimes it's the hardware, a jammed flight control surface, an engine issue. These jets are amazing, but they're still incredibly complex machines. And complex machines can break.
Complexity, human error, and mechanical failure.
That's the triangle. Almost every incident fits into it.
Okay, so with that framework in mind, let's make this real. Let's talk about some of the specific landmark incidents, starting with, well, the big one, the worst one in their modern history.
We have to start with the 1982 Indian Springs diamond crash. This was January 18th, 1982. They were practicing a formation loop.
And they weren't flying the F-16s back then, right?
No, this was in the Northrop T-38 Talon. It's a supersonic trainer, jet very light, very agile, but a different beast than the F-16 they fly today.
And what makes this case so devastating is just the sheer scale of the loss.
It was. 4 T-38s, the entire diamond formation, went into the desert floor during the pull-up of that loop. All 4 pilots were killed.
An entire formation at once. How? How did the investigators figure out what happened with 4 simultaneous impacts?
It's pretty fascinating detective work. They looked at the wreckage, the flight data, and they determined that the control stick on the lead aircraft, Thunderbird number 1, had jammed.
Jam?
Yeah. Specifically, a jammed horizontal stabilizer. So the leader's jet was locked, unable to pull up out of the dive. And because they were in that tight formation,
He dragged the other 3 with him?
he dragged the other 3 right down with him. A single mechanical failure in the lead jet destroyed the entire core of the team.
That's just a chilling example of that mechanical failure point on the triangle.
It is.
Now, let's jump forward about 2 decades. To 2003, we have another incident, but this one perfectly illustrates the other major cause, the human element.
Right. This is the 2003 Mountain Home Airshow crash. September 14, 2003. This time it's an F-16C, Thunderbird number 6, and it happens during a maneuver called the Split S.
The split S. We hear that term a lot. Can you break that down for us? Why is it so risky, especially at an air show?
Well, a Split S is basically a way to reverse direction while descending rapidly.
Yeah.
You do a half roll to go inverted, then pull the stick back, diving straight down and using that momentum to complete a half loop and fly out right side up.
Okay, I can picture that.
The danger is all about altitude. You need a massive amount of empty space below you to pull out of that dive. You're racing the ground.
And in this case, the pilot lost the race.
He did. The investigation was very clear. It was human error. The pilot, Captain Chris Strickland, he just misjudged his starting altitude.
By how much?
He started the maneuver about 1,500 feet lower than the team's own minimum for that maneuver. At that speed, being 1,500 feet too low meant there was physically no way to pull out in time. The jet did exactly what he told it to, but the command came too late.
But the outcome here was so different from 1982. The plane was lost, obviously, but the
The
pilot...
pilot survived. He ejected successfully just fractions of a second before impact.
So you have this total failure, but he walks away. That must have been a huge moment for safety protocols.
It was. It showed that even when human error makes a crash unavoidable, the safety systems, the ejection seat, can still work perfectly. His decision to eject was flawless, even if his initial judgment on altitude wasn't.
So we have these two clear historical goalposts. Mechanical failure in 82, human error in 03. But the risk doesn't just stop there, does it?
Not at all. It's continuous. And if we move into more recent years, we see 2 more F-16 incidents where the outcomes keep varying, which really underscores the constant danger.
Okay, so let's get to those. Tell us about the 2016 crash first.
This was the 2016 Colorado Springs crash on June 2nd. What's interesting here is that it didn't happen during some intense high-risk part of an air show.
So what were the circumstances?
It was a solo F-16, and it crashed right after a flyover for the Air Force Academy graduation.
A much lower pressure situation, you would think.
You would. And the outcome for the pilot was good. He ejected successfully, the aircraft went down in an empty field, so the damage was limited just to the plane.
And what was the cause? Back to mechanical.
The initial findings pointed to throttle issues, a possible engine malfunction. So yes, it leans back toward that mechanical failure side of the triangle. It just proves that even in what seems like a simple phase of flight, the technical risk is always there.
Right. And it also shows that the safety tech, the ejection seats, they're getting better. They're saving lives in situations that might have been fatal before.
Absolutely. The ejections in 2003 and 2016 are huge wins for safety engineering, but you have to immediately contrast that with the 2018 Nevada crash.
This one was different.
Very different, and a very sober reminder. April 4th, 2018, an F-16 goes down near the Nevada Test and Training Range.
And this was during routine training, right? Not a show.
Correct. Just routine training, and the pilot was killed. It just shows that the risk isn't just for the crowds. The training is where they push the jets and themselves to the absolute limit, and the consequence for failure is exactly the same.
So when you connect all these dots, the 82 crash, 03, 16, and now 18, it really drives home that these elite units are just in a state of constant risk management.
That's the core takeaway from the sources. It's a documented historical series. The causes cycle between machine and human, and the outcomes cycle between total loss and walking away. It's a binary result.
It's fascinating that the tech has changed so much, from the T-38 to the F-16, but the fundamental risk profile is still the same, because the job is still the same.
Exactly. Low altitude, tight separation, high G-forces. Those demands are fixed.
If you look at all these crashes together as one long story, it raises a pretty profound question, doesn't it?
It really does, and it's something for you to think about long after this deep dive is over. We've established this isn't random. The sources confirm it's a predictable historical series, a known pattern. So what does that say about how elite units like this accept and manage extreme risk?
That they know it's going to happen eventually.
It implies that the mission itself is considered so valuable that it requires an accepted level of risk that is, statistically, guaranteed to result in tragedy over time. They aren't trying to eliminate